Right, meeting reconvened at 10:30 a.m. Can I have somebody please move agenda item 342.1, the project progress report be received? Councillor Gleeson, Councillor Hanson seconds. Those in favour? 7-0. Not wrong, Councillor. You're looking at me to make sure I looked at you before you voted instead of going the other way around. Ahmed, anything before I go to questions? Well, let's just focus on one at a time here, please. So, goal 1, the first page. Do you have anything before I open up? Councillors?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the Jericho Showground upgrades, I guess this would be David. It's been awarded. Is that any idea, like, have they got a start date or a finish date?
For the men's shed.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. 3 years
What's
later,
already started? Yeah.
we have got, we're just waiting on the actual shed to turn up there. So the delivery of that will happen shortly. We've also, just on that one, we received the one just in mid-December for the awning in Alpha there at the showgrounds. So the delivery shouldn't be too far away for that one there.
Probably coming together, are they? David?
Yes, I'll be coming to do both projects. I've moved on to one, then the other. I believe they've been working in the Aramac division and on some of the other places out that way.
Thank you.
Further questions? Goal 1. Okay, goal 2. Acacia Street Bore, how are we going there?
So we've passed on to our superintendents to finalise and complete. Chris and I had a meeting with them before, it's in Chris's report as well. So we should be able to hopefully get a timeline to council soon.
Has the pump been designed?
This year, look, I put these guys off last Friday with the intention of catching up with them post the event we've been dealing with the last few days. I'll catch up with them tomorrow and get an update.
Excellent. And we had a brief last meeting regarding SCADA, so we were we've seen the very detailed Gantt chart for that. Any further questions? I do. I know we're still having ongoing discussions to sort out the tender issues with JJ Richards. Has there been any discussion about how we would make awareness of the bins replacement subsidy and give effect to that being rolled out, like as in procuring the bins and then swapping out?
Yeah, I'm still waiting for an update. I'll chase again. It's starting to become a little bit of frustration for myself. I've not received any clear guidance on the availability of these new bins, and that seems to take far too long. But I don't have an understanding of what those delays might be.
No point building a distribution mechanism until we know that we've actually got them launched. So walk before crawl before we walk. All right.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, have we had much community interest in taking up the bin replacement?
Well, we haven't really promoted it
No.
other than we released it as a budget initiative.
Yeah.
Has anyone approached any of the district managers about new bins?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I've heard that too.
And only the routine ones that you probably would have had anyway, or specifically looking to take that option up?
To take that option now.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And we've had enough stock on hand to do that, have we?
We don't have any new bins.
None. Do you have any here?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, we do. We do have a number of bins, but as to how many we've got on, I'd have to check.
Would we be able to share some?
Take 5 and I'll give you an idea, because they should be in stores.
Thank you. You didn't hear him, Douglas. Goal 3. See all these expected completion dates, I'm assuming that's just a typo, that should be 2023.
Either that, Mr Mayor, or the behind schedule.
Way behind schedule, we should have been looking into this some time ago.
There's a couple of 23s in there, so maybe not.
No, Mr Mayor, that should be 23.
No questions for goal 3? Goal 4. The upgrades for Alfred Dipyard's been identified yet?
No, Mr Mayor, I'll have to go through the RLO.
I can provide advice that there's still a holding pattern on the renewable energy zone. We haven't got clear advice yet from state government funding, so that obviously remains unactioned from a percentage dollars spent point of view, but there's still work being undertaken from a DA assessment point of view and for the state government grant perspective. Albert Gates, anything yet from the committee on that?
No, Mr Mayor, I've got to arrange a meeting with the tourism organisation and go through the actual process with exactly what they're wanting in location.
We're going to set a date, I'll come down to the one.
Yeah. We've discussed the murals thing at previous budget meetings, but and sort of put a holding pattern potentially on future funding because we're not seeing massive amounts of it being spent despite the early initial request. Is there likely to be any spent this year, or have the tourism / the art groups identified murals that they want to see restored or that any of our staff think need touching up? Or renewed?
I'll also do a follow-up with that in that same meeting with the murals there with them as well.
That request came from them initially.
Yes.
Is there a plan for the educational bursaries rollout or?
Sorry, so I don't know.
It's sitting in my to-do list.
Right, and we have received from the Alpha branch of the Isolated Children and Parents Association another big contribution, so that will grow to 22,000 because it possibly actually not be 24, but definitely they're contributing one bursary, maybe two. We should have rectified that threshold.
So, Mr Mayor, through you, in your to-do list, does that mean to send out and ask for applications? Yeah.
And sponsors.
And sorry?
And sponsors for funding.
Okay.
Is
Thank you.
there a closing date to, is there a time?
I haven't done anything with it before, very soon I imagine. I'll have to get something out there.
Yeah, we probably need to expedite that because it's probably for families looking for assistance to do this school year, is that?
Well, most of it's usually university, but yes. I mean, it's something that would be very timely to have at the start of the year, but at any time in the year to receive assistance, it's a couple of $1,000. It's probably not the difference between whether you do or don't attend your third year of a vet science degree, for example.
And study in that area is a lot more flexible, as in starting time. Some have 3 semesters a year, or, especially for distance ed stuff.
And a lot of university on-campus stuff doesn't commence until well into February anyway, so. Because of that third semester, they do the summer stuff, so.
Intensive stuff.
So, I mean, I think the letters that Deb's referring to is just to confirm West Tech and GBA's involvement,
Yes.
which verbally has been extended, but just to clarify their contribution to it so that we know how, along with now the ICPA, how many places we have to offer.
And to call for nominations.
Correct. And the assessment panel is usually a representative of each of the sponsoring bodies. So the delegate from GBA, delegate from Westec, obviously the delegate from the ICPA, and the delegate from council. And if you remember, after last year, I indicated that I'd sat through 2 of those, and I was quite happy to share that responsibility with somebody else on the council to be that assessor. All right. I do have a question regarding the Sculpture Trail public rest area. Happy to answer it with you in the room, but I just wanted to give you full knowledge in case you wanted to leave.
I'm on leave.
Or have you got carriage of that?
I'm not sure, Mr Mayor. To
What
tell
is
you
it?
the truth.
It's
the
amenities,
toilets,
mate. It's a
I
toilet,
believe.
yeah.
It's the
yeah.
eco-friendly toilet, I think.
Are we, we probably need to have some sort of scope out where we're putting it, or what we want and where we're putting it. Because initially, if you recall, we had approach from Telstra who were looking to put power onto one of their towers so that they could transition that to a 4G tower. They lost out in that round of black spot funding, which was to line up with this. So that should have happened this year. So this latest round of black spot funding was round 5 or 6. Their application for that tower to be funded for a black spot was not successful. So we had, in conjunction with them, we'd put $100,000 in because we'd be able to perhaps co-locate at the tower, because it was power there, a small ablutions block. It is something that it's probably actually even higher than the road surface from traffic people. Something that I've heard the most feedback about is the need for some sort of ablutions on that circuit. So councillors, perhaps we need the officers to scope out what we can do, given that we now know that that location is not going to work. That location may still be perfect, but we don't have the added value of Telstra. So will we need a powered location for a start? And if we don't, if we're using similar to TMR type rest area toilets, what will be the correct location? What landowner consultation will need to be undertaken? I think there'll probably be a receptive nature perhaps from landowners, because some of them are now concerned about how the ablutions are happening in an unstructured manner. Jesus, it's difficult to be politically correct with, in an unstructured manner and biosecurity on their property. So I think the idea of if we can find that location and a landowner's amenable, obviously we own the road reserve anyway, but you wouldn't want to locate one of these things somewhere where a landowner doesn't want it. So we probably need to do a bit of work to identify, and is 100,000 enough, given that it is, given what we're seeing in some pretty good prices for unconstructed but much larger, more elaborate ablutions than would be required here. We'd be looking, you'd only need one, I would think, similar to a TMR rest area stock, but probably not as extravagant either.
We haven't done the design in the past for this one.
All right, if that's going to be progressed this year, we'll probably need that scoping meeting to happen sooner rather than later. Deb, can you just remind me, please, to write to the ICPA confirming the individual bursary amounts so they know precisely what it is they can offer. Anything more for the sculpture trail, so I can bring the billboards, that's just advertising going where?
There's one on the Blackwall Road that's going up today, and then there's just 2 out of Aramac that say, you're on the Sculpture Trail and thank you for visiting the Sculpture Trail.
Okay.
So they'll go up in this week hopefully as well.
So I've just turned up.
Yeah.
You guys still live with the depot, remember down the depot?
Yeah.
The sculpture trail was actually good from a road inspection perspective yesterday, because we could say, oh, well, all the road was all good from the Hawke and the Bundaberg run back towards Aramac, but it was pretty ordinary the other way. They stand out quite quite well from there, especially with the little graded areas around them now, so. All right, any further questions for goal, for the sculpture trail before I invite Councillor Rogers back? Thank you, thanks Jim. Further questions for goal 4?
Mr Mayor, it's not actually a question, it's just an observation. I think that we're all aware. We've only got another 5 working months of this financial year, and there is quite a lot of, in all goals, there's a lot of 0% in the action. You know, the purchase of the land, the dip yards, the renewable, we mentioned the renewable.
That one, who knows with that one may or may not happen, so that takes a lot of dollars out of that goal, but it still doesn't change the percentage done.
Yeah, the percentages are just,
Oh, well, sorry, the other one you probably should draw a line through is unless, well, sorry, I'll rephrase that. Town entrances, beatification of towns, that was our contribution to an LGGSP application, and that LGGSP application was knocked back. So that was our 40% contribution to the town. So we would I would suggest, councillors, that we would drop that in light of risk, because the initial scope we put out was substantial. If we still want to spend 160,000 on town entrances, that's fine, but we're going to need to rescope what we want to do, or if we want to proceed with the original scope as we programmed it to be when we drafted this budget, we've got to find another 240 odd thousand. So realistically, I think in terms of delivery not taking anything away from the council, police, there's still a lot to do in a very short period of time. Just in this particular goal, the question mark asterisks as I put down would be town entrances, murals, just on the basis of the advice that we may not need to do that, and that's about it. Oh, sorry, and the breeds funding, because it's a misnomer, like it's a really unknown thing with the time frame there. It could appear in successive budgets and not be expended. So that takes out 1.2 million out of 1.8 in this goal, which leaves us still $600,000 worth of work.
Because further to that, Mr Mayor, if you take, like in previous, overall, if you take out the pool and future flood damage events which aren't in this budget, if you take those dollar figures out, we sit at about 53% completed just on dollar figure. Like there's a lot of projects we haven't started, but it looks a lot better when you take a couple of those big, and then if you add Breeze, there's, like you said, there's another $1 million, so dollar figure wise, it looks a lot better, but there's still a lot of small projects that we haven't started yet.
That probably actually changes that perspective a little bit when you do the calculations as Councillor Arthur has there, Councillor Gleeson. If we're roughly halfway through the year and we're roughly halfway spent on what we know we have to spend, we're not going too bad, although those small projects can often be the thorn in your side come the back end of the year. I'd imagine district managers, the big ones you get started on, and then the little ones can creep on a little bit, can't they, without attention. So
we'll focus on some scheduling so that we can give you some timelines so you know when we'll start and finish.
Yes, to you, Mr. Mayor. When we do the mid-year review, we'll see that difference there of pool money, the swimming pool, the flood damage, 21, which we haven't yet.
Yeah, 2021, which
so that was 3 million something we budgeted, and then there it is up there.
all right, if we go to goal 5, I think another one here to put a strong asterisk next to would be the admin office upgrades. We did have a preliminary without prejudice meeting with an architect. That architect is attending site next week. I would find it highly unlikely that any of that 350,000 would be spent in this financial year, because we'll be still going through design. There probably will be some of it spent in terms of architect and drawing, but it'll be minimal. And the other thing I'd suggest is, although we have to spend to our budget, it might be a good thing it doesn't get spent, because we may need to budget for, given the materialistic, or the increase in materials over the last little while, not least of which cement, steel and wood, that estimate, that wasn't even an estimate, that was just that's what we got for the old building, so we'll put that in it to go like for like. Once we actually design what's needed and then have a estimate of what that would cost to construct, well then we can move what we allocate for that up or down. Obviously the next one is just a dead set line through. Did you take a line through it when you were doing your calculations?
No, I just took the bigger ticket stuff, like the pool and the future flood damage stuff. And they were out of goal 1 and 2, I think, from memory.
So that duplex units, it went into last year's budget, this year's budget, sorry. It was supposedly revenue neutral because it was going to require the sale of the CEO's house and the construction of 2 smaller units. That was the staff planning around that. Council had never really furthered a position at all around that. It just went in the budget as an option. It was revenue neutral, so council needs to revisit that. The workshop extension we see later on in the agenda is complete.
Yeah, I did question that comment, Mr Mayor, because it says waiting on contractors to complete fire hydrant before shed install commences. But we've all but done the shed install.
The fire hydrant's done, is it? Is that an old comment?
And the fire hydrant's done, Mr Mayor. and the
There's
shed's-
a design that needed to be done and finished before we could put the roof on, so we have to get that done.
Yeah.
So we follow the building advice, make sure it complies with UCC.
Council Housing Special Maintenance, you'll note there, that was part of that LGSSP. It was actually also unsuccessful, we were unsuccessful across the board. So that 400's been wound back and, sorry,
Yeah, 160.
to 160, yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
Should we sit down at some stage, Mr Mayor, and properly adjust that budget? So it's a lot more indicative.
I think that's our next resolution. We'll hopefully. Even if we only just identify it in the review now, and then they present us with the amended budget in the February meeting. So then the figures, if we draw a line through these projects now, the operating budget we can have a look at in a minute, but the capital budget, at least then we can move to adjust what dollars we have. The Alpha Depot upgrades, isn't that the racking that was installed a couple of months ago?
Yes, correct.
So that's done?
Yes.
And on budget, it just needs that line on there, or is that something else?
Was it, in progress?
It might be coded somewhere else and.
Okay.
We haven't been advised it's been completed.
I saw some Snapchats from very happy stores officers, so I'm sure it is done.
Yeah, some and I inspected it when we were out doing our depot inspections.
That just may have been costed to another centre.
Mr Mayor, just for the next item down, the Alpha office painting, it's actually coming back to about double that price of the 7.5, so it's around the $20,000 a quote to the internal painting consultant.
For us to include.
Yeah, we've got to do a whole building.
Building
I'll
stuff.
check all our buildings, so we're very sad because we've got a number of properties that need some maintenance works.
The only real area that's urgent in that is, not urgent, but that makes it look particularly shabby, Damien, is the fact that we've taken out the evaporative air conditioning system. So there's the new plaster squares in the roof that where the old, that needs painting, but the rest of the building is not actually in a dilapidated state, is it? In a computer system, well, we're still looking at what we need to do there.
Yeah, it's got to be fairly big brief on that.
All right, well, let's get, we're half doing our review as we go anyway. Now this is obviously a budget review, so, sorry.
You're right. That's the plant.
Oh, we'll have a whole plant meeting here in a minute. And is there anything that anyone wants to discuss in plant, sorry? Before, we obviously have that massive bundle of information in front of you. Well, no. We'll
Mr
do
Mayor, if we could,
budget first.
if we could take comments on plant for that, but I'm not ready.
Yeah, unless it's unrelated to this stuff. Like the trailers, for example, those new tandem box trailers, have we gone to market on them yet? That's a Bob question. Right, let's hold any questions on that page until Bob arrives, please.
Is Bob required?
not for now. He will be when we do plan, which is probably next. Or community care. Yes, it is. Sorry, 2 away. Can I have sorry?
So he can prepare himself.
Yep.
He shuffles, so take a while to get him.
Separate resolution now for agenda item 3422, which is the budget review. Can I have somebody, the mid-year review, can I have somebody move that we receive that? Councillor Peebles, seconded. Councillor Plum, those in favour? 7-0. Simon.
Any more questions?
And, Mr. Mayor, it's been done on the same process as last year, but I've added coloring so that to identify where we are over and under budget. It follows through in the, when separated as goals. But on the first page, it's just an overall review of the budget that we are projecting 42% at the end of the year because of the reason the factors just been discussed as capital being caught in it. Yeah. If you take out capital out of the operating is in line and is better off than what we budgeted.
We're not, or we are.
We are.
It's a minus. Oh, we're 2 million under budget. 2.83 under budget. 87. What was that?
No, it's maybe, yeah, 8.7.
Sorry, I'm still not sure I understand.
So, Mr. Mayor, this is the overall picture of what we are projecting for the year end. We had an original budget of 15.2 million. This is net budget. We would be spending about 6 million positive.
Okay. How come we're so far behind to date?
So it's because this also has the capital in it, which is 6 million swimming pool,
Right.
3 million flood damage,
Understood.
21 and a few other costs. So mostly it is capital because if you look at the budget, taking capital out, it's better than what we budgeted for now.
So that bottom right figure is not the projected net position, that's the difference between,
That's
will be 2.8 under 15.2.
sorry.
So our budgeted total position was going to be 15,292. If you take capital out of it, we'll be 2.8 less than that.
Yeah, so that's operating, so we would be spending about 2.8 million. If we take the capital out.
We'll only be spending that,
Yeah,
right?
so the capital budget was 18 million.
Okay.
So if you take that, that's the difference between capital and the operating spend. But this can be further explained in each goal.
That makes sense as
Let's
well.
do it as we go. Let's go.
So, Mr. Mayor, for example, in community support, we budgeted 243. It seems like we would be spending 205. At this stage, we're 85% on budget, but what the projections and how it seems to be, it'll be about 205. In Parks and Gardens, we're just under what we budgeted. It's almost 99%. But bottom lines are like the whole parks and streets costing shows we are budget neutral, but if you look at parks and gardens separately, it's a bit over and we're saving bit on public convenience costs, so.
What are they? Toilets, public toilets?
Yeah, so that's evening it.
Why are we saving there? We're not cleaning them as much?
Some of it is going to pull apart Parks and Gardens, just to see where it's all at.
You think a better mowers, they're gonna have to find something else to cost their time to instead of just hiding it like the gardens. I'm sure everyone knows it. Right, halls?
With halls, we spent a lot of money on halls last year, so we were budgeting it to the same extent this year, but it seems like the costs have dropped to what they were last year, so.
Swimming pools, first one in red.
Yeah, so. Swimming pools is about 11% over budget.
And the interest is over budget in the half year, but it's not in the full year, not forecast. Is there a reason for that?
Well, the loan itself states what the interest is, and that's a schedule, so whatever is in the budget should be the interest on that loan, shouldn't be
I
crazy.
think you'd pay the same amount in each 6 months though, wouldn't you?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, could be something caught up there, but
It's just if we're over at the half year, I would have thought we'd remained over at the back end, but obviously not, so, right.
it should be 22,766 at the end of the year. That's according to the schedule we received from QTC on the loan. Shouldn't change.
Whether, Mr Mayor, whether it's quite literally like the interest has moved on a certain date,
Yeah.
and then the report's coming up and, yeah, it's a little bit earlier than what we've projected, what the average over each month.
What's our loan schedule? How often do we repay? Quarter, weekly, monthly?
6 months.
6 months.
Oh.
Right. The rest are in green, Samo. We get to libraries.
Through you, Mr Mayor, what's the main reason for the overcost on the pools there with just pool costs?
District managers,
I do have a breakdown of each town, how much we spent, but there might be more to it too, Mr. Mayor.
just leave unless the councils want more information on any particular area, then provide supplementary advice.
So looking for information on what the bills costs that would appear the main thing over.
Breakdown of where we've spent it.
Yeah, and well, from the projection, it's continuing, well, increasing on us a slight bit for the next 6 months.
Why breakdown, email council.
Yes.
Yeah.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I've projected it on the base of doubling it up. And considering in the factor that we have special operating to go into that area. But if we have spent the special operating already, then I take it out and then double it up. Because if it's general maintenance and all that cost, we just project it to be standard and double it if there's no special cost involved. So at this stage, it seems like It's high.
I guess all you know, the purpose of this is if there's exceptions there that as council you'd like more information, this is the trigger to focus on certain areas and report back on.
So unless there's anything in the green, because that's all positive, the budget, is there any, do you want to point to libraries, what have we got there?
Libraries, seems like the employee cost is major factor. We, through the cost of services review, we thought we would have a saving, but we'll have to take down and see why it's over now.
That's purely just employee costs.
Nicole?
So overall, through you, Mr. Mayor, that see this, just before the overall in Pool 1, the capital grants cost. So that 7.6 million had the pool in it, so 6.4 million, so if you take that out, it's 1.1 million left. So if you look at the bottom line with Goal 1 community, it is orange because it's not satisfying the budget because of that 6 million in it. But if you take that factor of capital grants out of it, it is in line with the budget overall.
So, can we, that'd be the first thing I'd suggest we see for an amended budget, is that we amend the budget to remove that capital cost for the next meeting. That we know is not funded.
Three, Mr. Mayor, just one question. When we go back to recreation park costs, year to date we've only spent 230, and by the end of the year we're at $230, and by the end of the year there's $75,000.
This is because, through you, Mr. Mayor, this is because we have allocated 60,000, I guess, for Rec Park landscaping, which is a special operating budget cost. So once we do that, we'll achieve that 75,000. So that's so anything that's special operating triggers that projection too.
So we need to break down the rec park costs from facilities to water to.
And some of the rec park costs just do get costed to parks and gardens as well, so the whole costing in rec park has to be seen and understood, like it has to be reviewed too.
Say that again, please, Sally. Some of the rec park costs are contributed to parks and gardens.
It's been captured in the Parks and Gardens
Yes.
budget, where it should be recognised as the rec park,
Okay, thank you.
which is why you're over in that Parks and Gardens area potentially, because we haven't recognised it when we
It's
do
not
the
going
work.
to the right line, yeah. All right.
So, roll to Mr. Mayor, is the services, water seems to be over, is in budget, and we might end up having a bit over what we budgeted in water because of the water supply costs seem to be low at the moment. But it's well over the budget amount. Sewerage is almost in line with the budget.
I guess the next trigger is your waste one, that's the one that we know that's.
And yes, so due to the refusal collection cost, which contract with JJ's is a major factor in going that cost up. Yes, it seems like we will incur loss there.
A loss or just a reduction in the budget?
A reduction in the budget and as a service item loss.
Your line item doesn't say loss though. There's no minus in front of it. It says we'd be still 26,400 positive, wouldn't it?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, a loss to the budget.
Sorry, yeah, but the actual unit itself is still
It's
cash
still
positive.
Positive, yeah.
Excluding depreciation though.
Depreciation is not included in that line item, is it? In that section?
With waste, no, it's not there.
Where is depreciation? It was on the previous page.
It should be. I think that's the depreciation related to. Some of it would be for waste and the other might be for other services around this.
Just thinking, if goal 2 doesn't.
Depreciation and waste, did you say?
Yes.
Yeah, there's, well, until everything is strictly capitalised, there's not much depreciation in waste at the moment.
The landfill sites themselves don't depreciate.
We've got liability for rectification at the end.
Rectification, yeah, they're not classified as assets per se, but once the transfer station is put in per se and signed off on, you will get some depreciation, but otherwise it's not.
And previously when we did our own waste collection, the asset we did it with would have depreciated, but that would have been depreciated through plan and then charged through.
Yeah,
just like
cost through cost right.
Yeah, because the sewage is depreciated.
Yeah, sewage, water.
Yeah.
Out of physical assets and revenues.
All right, so the good, it's not bad, and sorry, it's not good, but it does take a substantial hit to the budget, although it still remains cash positive. We haven't actually lost money yet in that. We're not projecting to. So the half year we were still 7,000 in the black. We'll instead of 54,000, and we're projecting to be 26,000 in the black as opposed to 114,000. Is that right? And that's almost all directly attributable to the collection cost contract issue.
Next one is plant. Plant seems to be a bit lower as projected to what we budgeted, and it's because of the plant repairs and maintenance on plant. It's been high this year till now. I've projected it on the basis of that it'll double up and will be over this year.
Has there been extraordinary maintenance, or does the repairs and maintenance increase to reflect an increase in operations?
There has been a couple of
We've
events.
had a spike in repairs on.
Yeah, as in there's some significant items that have had problems, yes.
It's a bit of a shame because our recoveries are not meeting target either.
Well, there will be Mr.
Just have in mind that I think registration comes in straight up, and that'll put the repairs and maintenance a little bit higher for the first, until it smooths it out over the year, because it all comes in July.
You don't get the luxury of monthly. No.
So is it an annual thing?
Yes, yeah.
Then maybe Mr. Mayor will have to review that, because it might, that repairs and maintenance plant cost will drop down to 0.8 million as a projection.
Yep.
Because if you factor that registrations and insurances, which I thought it was twice a year, so That
have
might
had
bring
a,
it back to where it should
we have had a spike in damage to machines and repairs.
be. So it'll still be over budget, like a couple of $100,000, but not as much as I've shown there, Mr. Mayor. That will bring it back to 2.2 probably. That's a projection on next one is community care, Mr. Mayor.
But community care, we monitor the workshop of council, how we got to this position and where we're going to take it. It'll be a in confidence discussion, so a public discussion.
Which one?
Community care.
With community care, Mr. Mayor, we really need to look at that model of report we also present to council, because we always look at the bottom line, which is if it's a positive or a negative, but some of them community care services should be actually break even, they should not make any profit, so we should look at actual profit and then as well as look at the where our service delivery is low, because that is a serious concern with the departments then. Once we do that community care services report, I'll explain that further.
It's still positive though.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, but that's because we are delivering low in CHSP this year.
Right.
So that's one reason there. Which we are improving and are in contact with the department and trying to improve our ways to meet those deliveries.
So Manager of Finance and our HR people have had some serious discussions with both the federal and state on how we report, how we do our business. So it's been full on for the last 3 or 4 months.
We've done an extensive review on the CHSP model and trying to improve that there so that we could bring the delivery of actors to the service level they want and spend that dollar amount which they provide us.
We do need to have that one.
But we
in confidence when we explain it.
So, right.
So in actual terms, this whole program, this part of the budget should be cost neutral. Other than contributions, there shouldn't be any profit there in community care, which is kind of 83,000 we projected. So it's not very well.
83 is not much of a percentage of the money we spend there. NDIS.
With NDIS numbers have grown over the year, but is likely to have a profit there. Mr. Mayor, as mentioned by Shane and CEO, the HR department is working on hiring people so that we could import that because they provide more service to the clients. So it seems like there would be a profit there.
Property.
Property is in line with the budget, Mr. Mayor.
In front, isn't it?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Why?
Due to the rent programs, Mr. Mayor.
What's that mean? So there's 12,000 not spent in rent programs. What's rent programs? Is that? It's nothing exciting, but it's still a lot of money. To be zero. I mean, we're forecasting nothing there.
Programs.
Would that be things like 60 and better, like money that we derive rent out of that sort of program, as opposed to a commercial rent.
The aged care, where we rent that room down there.
That's what I mean by programs.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, that's exactly right. That's 60 and better in Aramac CHSP and Alpha CHSP rents that have a significant.
So the buildings that we already own, that there's a
CHP rents off us.
Yeah, they rent off us.
So why are they zero?
They are, all the percentages wrong on that.
It's close enough to zero. Closer to zero than 100, we're budget. Oh no, we're over. Sorry.
Maybe all-
God.
That's 24,000. We're looking at 24,000. We budgeted 3,000. So that's where that is better.
So that was when capturing.
The Barkey aged care stuff's not cash positive, that's cash neutral because we're giving program money to somebody else for their premises, but Alpha CHSP office and 60s and better is better for us.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we did increase the rents on that as well.
All right, let's keep moving along. Private works is down, but they should always take 5 and pick them. But the one I want to go back to is commercial services. That is well under budget and forecast to be well under budget. And the chief standout for me is Bank of Queensland commissions. What's going on there? Just a higher than normal, higher than budgeted foot traffic, or like that's nearly double and forecast to stay at nearly double.
Is that due to the changes we've made in the way through?
Well, that's just commissions,
No,
it's
that's
not
just
costs.
But like, would that help with?
That would indicate, yeah, 80% increase in works through, well, bank transactions basically, yeah, through.
Really, if we've been able to narrow that cost down to probably like 40,000 instead of 40 million.
125,000.
So we are receiving a monthly increased commission. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
To you, Mr. Mayor, yes, the commissions have increased and it appears on the commission statements that there's the quantity of transactions is the same, but it's because you get a commission on the dollar figures banked, and that seems to be what's increasing. The amount of dollar figures that are going over the counter.
So it's similar transactions, but because there's more money going through, we derive a higher commission.
That's absolutely nothing to do with anything we've done at all, it's just people have got more money. Someone's got more money. We're getting a dividend off that, very good.
Which has always a big benefit to us.
Slightly under our costs budget, still 250,000 as opposed to 260.
Yes.
But when you directly take our commissions from our costs, we're only 50,000 out of pocket for a pretty important community service, so that's not too bad.
Because it used to be much.
Because last year's commissions were 110 something, Mr. Mayor. So
What we budgeted.
that's up now.
So we give you the cost going forward, RTC costs add to that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, goal 3.
Transport, down street maintenance cost, I'll have to adjust that to 650 as mentioned by Fields. That we will be able to spend that. Flood damage revenue, I was expecting the amount that has been already spent in emergent flood damage cost, but if we have another event that will trigger that too, Mr. Mayor. Rural road maintenance, that's 1.6 just.
Further discussion.
Yeah.
I'd hold that. When you amend the budget to bring back to us next month, don't move that. Even though we think it's unlikely, let's not move it just in case.
And then airport fees seem to be high. They're over the budget.
The airport's really service obligation for us.
It's not much over.
State roads. All over the way.
Yep. Couple of grants, you're gonna amend that?
This one, yes, Mr. Mayor, I might take out that flood 21. I'm not sure if that, I'll have to work with Director of Works to
21 is mentioned.
change that figure.
Okay.
For flood damage 21. And once you take out that capital, it's a positive. Spent under budget, but obviously we're not spending out of our pocket, so it's just, I guess, going Soul for Mr. Mayor, economy. Agriculture is very standard, same. Just a bit better off what we predicted. Information center costs are very high, so everything's budget at 30 kilowatt, 20 kilowatt. Camping facilities are even better off than what we were.
We've increased the budget and they've gone in front of an increased budget, yep.
It's way too.
Recognised tourists are still staying with us, which is cool.
Well, as the predominant revenue sources there would be Aramak and Buckhorn showgrounds. Third runners would be Mullaburra. You right? And then I suppose we've only got another one really, and that'd be Redbank. It's not Redbank. Sure. Freedom Parks are not really revenue positive at the moment, so Redbank and the other two Freedom Parks wouldn't be collecting a lot with that. As was forecast.
Events coordination cost is low because of the support of this might change, Mr. Mayor.
We'll be proposing the following for
Economic development is in line with the budget. We've spent 22 in development costs. Our budget projected it to be fully spent by the town planning, Mr. Mayor, is almost in line with the budget, or might be spending on.
Did we put the work that we've contracted the consultants to do with respect to the new planning scheme, is that costed to this centre or is that going into contract work somewhere else? Don't have to answer it now, you're taking on notice. Thank you. Because I would imagine it's a very substantial dollar figure,
It's a lot larger than that.
bigger than that. It could triple that.
That's whether you pay year by year.
Building compliance.
It's just over a couple of grand.
Yep.
Economy is all a grain. It's all in line with budget.
You depreciate all of that just once a year, do you, for the budget?
Yes, Mr.
Alright, goal 5.
Governance, they're expecting this cost to be a bit higher.
On the basis of which area? Executive costs, elected members.
CEO instead of director. So that was recognised the difference.
Council housing rents are in line with the budget.
which they should do.
Yeah, we might be spending a bit more on maintenance, maybe that one started for.
We won't know that till we go back and do the additional assessments. Employee costs are straightforward.
On cost should be almost what we budgeted. They're a bit over, they're a loss at the moment, today, but projection they should be in line with what budget was after doing all the adjustments and journals to on cost.
Those ones are all consistent.
Might be a bit over budget with the finance side because of the vacancy.
That's what I want to keep rolling.
Admin stores is
Supervision costs are up. Do you expect that with all the work that we're doing?
So why is that up in a non-recoverable area? Work supervision. So work supervision's double the budget, forecast to stay at double the budget, but yet the coordination recovery is not actually targeted to meet budget. So what's the genesis for that?
So this is this work supervision generally or work supervision unrelated to construction costs? So when we do capital works in sales for TMR, would the work supervision be costed to this area and then on costed? No, so this is general supervision outside of sales. So it is double our budget. Did we get the budget wrong or is there something going wrong?
No, you just can't put the supervision, the recoveries up to a level that will recover. It's just, well, you could, but it'd be horrific.
Which is okay, I'm not so much concerned about the recovery side of it, although I am a bit, but it's fine. The recoveries were in front of what we budgeted to spend and now they're not breaking even. We budgeted to recover for the half year 258,000 and we budgeted to expend 109,000. We've actually expended 232 and we're on track with. So we spent more in the half year on supervision than we had budgeted to spend for the whole year. Is that I have got no understanding of it other
So
than...
we've spent 465, Mr Mayor, is that right?
No, that's the projection. We've only spent...
Yeah, we're projecting, but we're projecting to recover 506.
That's right, but why did we get this figure wrong? And this here, that's right, like how does it line up?
We'll project to get 500 back, and we've got 600 we're going to cost, is that right? So with work supervision, engineering costs and other works, it'll be 620,000? Well, is that that's what it says?
So there's 89,000 worth of cost in there for works
Yeah.
overseer in Armagh.
If we get 500, we're going well.
The projection is the column I'm looking at, not the budget.
Yeah, your 517 is what your projection is that right?
No, 600 and nearly 700,000. You've got 465, 100 and 139.
So Mr. Mayor, the recoveries will be high and they will recover what we spend in that supervision area. Because they automatically get costed, they cannot be low. Because they were raised last year, 700,000.
Yeah. I'm just trying to get my head around how we're 700,000.
So there was an extra, another employee that is in that area, which is being.
Okay. But all of this is outside of, this is supervision that's outside of construction though, isn't it? So if the supervisor does work on a construction job,
If you charge them
It'll be charged
to that job, not to this.
So this is your
It's
maintenance.
parks and gardens and,
This is the superfluous stuff that we.
This is mostly, Mr. Mayor, tech services, tech services and overseeing work, sort of, jobs not directly related.
So the town supervisor, parks and gardens supervision, that sort of stuff, or is that costed to parks and gardens, labour costs?
This will be your additional maintenance supervisor we've got in.
All right, I think we'll tie the meeting up here unnecessarily. Can we just get a cost report on that line, what contributes to that, so that we can see where we're at?
Yeah, it's true.
I've no problem if it's $1 million over budget if we're doing the work. I just, if it's something we need to be in front of for next year's budget planning process, we can enhance. Like if, I understand the point with our recoveries have increased in line with our over expenditure, but why? We budgeted just so that we can lift the budget next year to meet it if that's the case, because we're well over budget, more than double the budget.
We'll just break down a report on that.
All right. That brings us to the end of that. Anything further questions on that, or generally? The process now is there'll be amendments made in those areas that we've identified we're clearly not receiving revenue or works clearly will not be expended. We'll have a look at that summarised version again of the budget to amend at the February meeting. So,
Can I ask a question? The way that's been formatted and given, is that easy for councillors to understand?
No.
Well, I was about to say yes. It's very, very good.
From all the other councillors' perspectives. What would you like to see extra that we can put
I
in
would
there?
probably like to see, like, if we're 10% over budget or like that, we have an exception or a reason for it, like.
So commentary of where we're over.
It may not be 10%, like, but if we set a level that if we're 10% over budget, it's this much detail. If it's 20% over budget, like, it's a bit more detail, and even like if we're under recovering or at a certain level too, have another level there that says it's because grants were less or something was paid in advance or won't be paid till this time, or we were unsuccessful.
We have a front page and exception report, so going through every line,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
you can focus on the exceptions.
Yeah, I still want all this. I think this is fine, but where the red, I'd have it at the back, and the red level, because otherwise we might miss something that.
Under each goal, you could have what the red level, the explanation is why it's.
Yeah, well, I don't want an explanation. I want the actual, so for that work supervision, find the cost centres that are over on the system and give us a snapshot of that. Like, I know practical will probably up, you just punch in whatever that is, put a copy of that there for us to actually have a look at.
Isn't that an explanation?
No, because an explanation is someone's interpretation of it. I want the raw data.
Right.
We can interpret the raw data then.
Just looking at this for me, I was just wondering if there's some way easier that we can, I've got no idea how, that can we have a mid-year report that's a bit easier to read and work out. I don't know how to say that, but is everyone else comfortable with it? Anyone else?
I'm going to take a little bit of getting used to it.
Or just me?
No, it's a lot of information and figures to try and digest, but yeah, if we can start to set some limits on additional information, it would be a start.
Which part of it in particular would you like changed, Councillor? Because
I just said, Mr. Mayor, to Summit, I don't know how to change it, but
if we did the exceptions, that would be one to read to give you a highlight of where
that probably
the focus is.
helps you understand you.
okay, 343. Can I have somebody move that report, please? Councillor Plum, seconded. Councillor Hanson, those in favour? 7-0. We did discuss this briefly on the way through. Any questions for Samad on this one now?
number about the number of customers or, you know, that we're servicing in this area? And like, remember we used to just get the amount and then the projected amount that we could possibly have in the future. We used to have that in the report.
So, where we got we make money.
No, I think you
But how
mean
many
number
have
of clients.
Clients, we used to have how many potential, excuse me, potential clients that
For
were,
which section, NDIS or CHSP?
I thought it was overall.
Yeah, it was, to your
But-
estimate, it was, yes, it was broken down into each section, but I may summarize it if you want.
The report was, we had a page for each of those colours, but no, I think Councillor Rogers referred to how many actual individual clients we're servicing. Do we know that? In each goal or each?
We will have that, and we'll,
We do.
the potential other ones if we want services.
Would just be
We'll
interesting.
give you
Had someone ask me the other day how many
Solution.
clients we had, and I just said, I had to give them a guess.
The NDIS one's the confusing, would be the complicated one there, because there's the ones that we provide direct care to, and then there's the plan management that is, they're two different things, like, so we plan manage dozens, but we only provide direct care to very small, so. But CHSP's both.
We'll bring in to a full workshop on CHSP. It's pretty complex, but we need to talk about the journey we're on.
All right, 344, plant replacement tenders.
Is that you?
So, Bob, you have provided us with, as the council has requested, and you've been working on anyway, the lifetime profit for each of our plants. So these reports, councillors, that look like that.
I'll just split them up into your heavy plants, you have mowers and trucks and trailers and light vehicles. There is some readings that I haven't got. Good ones. The main one is the yellow fleet, and there's reading hours and what's been booked, and there's some very good returns. There's a few loose ones, and there's some excellent profits and a couple of not so good ones.
Right, so without, we'll probably delve deeper into that in a budget
That's just
meeting.
for information. really.
So, but it still is a reference document for the decision that we're going to make today about each of these pieces of plant. But if it's not something that's due for replacement today, we'll hold our discussion generally on plant utilisation till the plant budget meeting. So if we go to the big spreadsheet, have you got these? That would have been presented today. Yes, Melinda's hard copies. Councillor Rogers, hard copies.
What, that we only one I can do, can you do share?
Well, how, no, the Director of Works is sharing, so.
Made on the big one.
So,
You could have taken a bit of
Yeah, no, you're right. It's too short down.
so we're still in open session, councillors, if you remember that. If I need to close, I will, for the purposes of commercialised business reason. Jay, I think it is. Yep. Let's do that anyway, so that we can discuss openly the different contracts, the different tendered amounts here without being prejudicial to future acquisitions, because a lot of this, perhaps not the excavator or the loader, but a lot of the other stuff will be competitively, and there is a significant change being proposed. So Councillor Peoples moves, seconded Councillor Plum, that we move into closed session for the purpose of a confidential discussion on a matter that may affect ongoing business contracts. Those in favour? Carried. Right, the very first one in our spreadsheet is
the loader bob.
Stop that.
All right, we return to open session. For the record, Councillor Hanson disclosed a previously undiscovered prescribed conflict of interest in a discussion surrounding the acquisition of a mini excavator as part of our plant replacement discussion. Disclosed that interest in the matter and opted to leave the room, or decided to deal with that by leaving the room due to his close associate being his family member operating a similar piece of plant under a wet and dry plant hire arrangement with council. And the council left the meeting whilst we were in closed session at 12:19. The matter was discussed in his absence. And we then returned to open session with two councillors out of the room now due to prescribed conflict of interest. Councillors, the recommendations are in front of you. Is there any discussion about any or all of that before we move to resolution? So in order, plant number 2209, the loader, we replaced with a Hastings Deering quote for a Caterpillar machine, a 938, with a no trade price of $506,135. Given that that's not the lowest price, the reason for that is fleet consistency, standardisation, plant suitability and overall customer support. The excavator, plant number 2308, we replaced with the Komatsu Australia quote of $218 including trade, $218,000 including the trade. That is a like for like, the quality of the machine and history of original trade machine being the reasons why, given that it was not the cheapest tender received. There was deferral of that one, Debbie, so that can come out all together. Price was accepted from Dingo Mini Loader and Trailer to be supplied, or the recommendation is to accept it. It will be supplied under the tendered price from ESM with no trade for $78,325, given that it is not the lowest tendered price. Council's decision for this will be fleet consistency to standardisation, plant suitability and overall customer support. I'm happy to take that out as well, please. Just deal with what we're actually doing. 12-seater bus, the only tendered price was Longridge Toyota, price to be confirmed at a future, upon a
Receiving.
we're ordering it, but it's probably not now. Price to be confirmed.
To just be confirmed.
Yeah. 3 new MUX LSM 4-wheel drive SUV, no trade, to be ordered from Mount Isa Isuzu for the quoted price of $61,500. The reason being for the establishment of fleet consistency and existing fleet unavailability.
Sorry, say again.
To establish fleet consistency with a new style of vehicle. Given existing fleet unavailability. Existing fleet supplier. Unavailability. And the other recommendations are that we replace plant number 6212 with an extra cab utility tray back from D-Max, a D-Max SX, a 43695 traded, and plant number 6353 with a D-Max SX dual cab 4-wheel drive utility for a traded price of $42,000. So that is the recommendations. Do I have a mover? Councillor Plum, seconded Councillor Rogers. Debate? Yes, Councillor. No debate. Those in favour? 5-0.
Thanks, Bob. Good report.
Oh, it's quick. It was fine.
No, that's comprehensive and
Workshop when we start going through plan utilisation.
Right. Well, like the other day, yeah, because we're not trading all that stuff. It won't be this year. Some of that stuff won't turn up this year, so we've got the opportunity to still sell and trade it in future years. So like the
We
excavator.
can keep the third car in the next year.
There's a whole heap of stuff there, when it's mowers and things back next year.
We got these guys.
They can come back.
But yeah, that's good.
So, just to, we're still on, So the finance officer's just making a valid point that our plant replacement's now about 580,000 over budget because of the decisions we've made around deferral of trades, and we've got a couple of options. The East Council has now rejoined us, so the decision's made. This is just an observation. Because of the deferral of trades and auction, but also the other thing is it will not all be realised in 1 year. We're over budget in plant replacement about 580,000. But
which I would expect some of that, and I'll take the loader in, for instance, it's delivered in July, well there's your 500,000 that are back to, but we've got a significant area ahead of us in plant replacement.
That's right. So
that's the next discussion.
Just a thing to look at when we do the third quarter review or our budget review is that there will be budget issues as a result of the decision today around in that specific area of plant replacement, almost all due to the decisions around trade, no trade. Okay, let's I was about to say adjourn for lunch, but maybe we can do one more. Chris, do you feel like talking on a full stomach or anything?
Oh, I honestly don't mind, Mr.
Let's start.
It's not a great deal to.
Let's go.
Other than what's
We haven't
occurred
done
last week.
Yep, let's go. Can I have somebody please remove that, move 351 be received? Councillor Peebles, Councillor Plum. Those in favour? Carried, 7-0. Thanks, Bob. Sorry, Starman looks like he's departing as well. Starman, thank you for the budget review. We'll have a chat about the style of things, but I think it's good and a lot of detail there that we've gone through, so thank you very much for your understanding. Chris?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Nothing substantial to add. Obviously, between the last council meeting on the 6th of December, wrap up of a couple of projects as tabled here in the report. Main focus in the last week and will be moving forward will be the assessment of emergency works, working with consultants with regards to pick up and building of submissions that will in a program that we're here to establish. The recent event will have an impact on all works that we were developing with regards to maintenance, as we start to step through that process in the next couple of weeks, as we learn what that is out there, we'll start to build a picture and be able to brief at next council meeting.
So the other one piece of good news that I can share with councils is that the Capricorn Highway job, when it was originally scoped, that widening job to the east of Alpha, there was an original scope handed down to match the original commitment of funding. However, the material creep increase right across the board, fuel mainly, but lots of other things, materials as well, shortened the scope. The first piece of advice that the department handed me on the recommencement of work this year was that they found an additional sum of money to complete the scope of works, less one or two small areas that they're actually deferring, not on the terms of dollars, but they want to tie into an ongoing package of works around Kilfield turn off and a few things. So really good news there that the crews that we've got out there, they were facing the end of that job after their next completed package. They'll be able to continue right through. So that safety package now will be completed. I think the expectation is this calendar year.
Yeah.
So that's really good news. For road users, but also because I've shared the professional frustration of our crews who know that it would have been lovely to get a job done properly and done to the end, and now they're going to be able to do that. When they walk away from there, they'll walk away with the job done properly, or the job done to the original scope. Questions for Chris?
Mr. Mayor. I imagine since you wrote this report, we've all received a letter or email regarding the landfill, the problems that we've got with the rubbish dump. There's no specific dates here, but obviously, we're working on it to try and get it going as fast as possible.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'll speak with both the Mayor and the CEO about their availability. I've had a proposal come back from a contractor to come and speak to council so that we can start to establish a project and start to manage that project so that we can put a timeline to it. If we look back to the first part of that though, the immediate fixes that we're looking at, we're hopeful to actually start to commence procurement of that last week. We'll commence it this week now, and that will be putting those gates onto the old facility and looking at engaging some specific plant to try to minimise and reduce that waste in such a way. Look, it'll be, although largely aesthetic, we'll have a practical use as well in terms of, I think, closing off, covering up, and minimising the amount of opportunity that someone will have to physically light a fire in here as well. Yeah, this is sort of the next 2 weeks we're looking to have this wrapped up, I think.
Mitigation works, the frustrating thing is the mitigation works are all costing us money and deferring, and at the end of the day, someone who's of such a mind to be an arsonist probably can still get around a lot of what we do. The single biggest and best way to stop that dump burning is to shut it and move to our new transferred landfill. So the problem is we've got to split our focus in dealing with the existing existential mess and getting the new one open, and just in this current contract environment, people are just not perhaps moving to our time frames as fast as we want to. We'll have those conversations. Definitely was raised by the Deputy Mayor following a conversation from Graham to both her and I prior to Christmas, and that generated the response that we'd be aware of, that we definitely, those companies have been approached without mentioning them in public meeting. Companies have been approached. We've now had a response from one of them that they do want to come out and meet. Whenever the meeting is, it'll happen. And we've proposed for it, and guarantee you now it'll happen. Even if I'm away or others are away, we'll still make it happen. And
it looks as though there is an opportunity next week. We've obviously just been a little distracted in the last couple of days, but get back to it in the next couple of days and firm it up.
So for you, Mr. Mayor, Chris, you're saying once the gates are there, restricted access, like when you say council operate, so just during council operation hours, have it open. That could prevent some, hopefully.
It's probably, without commitment of substantial resources or reallocation of budget, it's the best we can do that I think will have a pretty honest affair.
It may be outside the 6 till 3, but
and of course, and not well explained there is that we haven't yet determined what those hours are, and of course we'll need to look at what that means for weekends and like as well. We'll have to look at. There are obviously budget implications associated with that as well.
There could be, I don't know, like sort of with people coming in and going, there's no one there. I feel like we should try and look at putting someone there, just having someone on site. Just to keep an eye on people that are coming and going. You shouldn't have to do it, but
through you, Mr. Mayor, look, I think this is exactly what these discussions will some of the solutions that will be recommended potentially next week.
Yeah.
And that'd be the advice that I'm expecting to hear. And look, in discussions that I've had previously with contractors, that's the go-to, is that without having some physical control, whether it be a method of denial or having it monitored, you can't beat having it monitored with personnel, but it's not something that I don't think we've considered any of those options yet. Need to do it, sorry, but no, we haven't considered all of the options available to us yet. It's probably the best way to explain.
Monday to Friday, or 9 days a fortnight, it's probably easy to have somebody. It's not easy because that's another important job not happening somewhere, but it's relatively inexpensive because they're paid to be at work. The minute we put them there outside work hours or on Saturdays and Sundays, it comes at a horrendous cost. So there's another option, but I'm not talking about it in an open meeting.
We need to look at all our options, both for security. We have talked to a local agency who's going to increase surveillance, but yeah, that's not going to be 24/7.
I just, I know that we're looking at it, but I really feel like while we're waiting, because this is still going to take, we need to do something right now. Like before, we're looking at options, but we need to put a stopgap in now. We've tried videos, we've tried other things, it hasn't worked, so we might need to step it up. It's not permanent, but just while we wait for those contractors, like you said, their timeline's a little bit different to ours. For us it's urgent, but urgent to them might be another 3 months away. The other night fire that was out there, you could see something exploding from up on the hill. It's probably gas bottles, but we just can't have.
The problem is locking the gates is not going to
Stop the fire.
Not going to stop it for long. You can put gates there, but in that current facility, until you put a 12-foot security fence around it, unless you've got it manned 24/7, you won't stop fire.
Yeah.
It's the practical reality of it. We can talk about all the measures we want to. 24/7 security is the only way to stop it.
Yeah, that's why I'm thinking that might be the actual answer until we get that other dump over and there's actual security or supervision there all the time.
Very good.
Costly, Mr. Mayor.
Possibly if something happens and there's an accident as well.
Further questions for Chris? Thank you. Councillor Arthur?
Thanks, Mayor.
Councillor Hanson?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Plum?
Only good reports about the road that's been completed, and more to come.
The Barcode and Aramac Road?
Yeah, only good reports. Very good. And if the reports are what's been done is very good, when are you doing more?
We're starting very short order.
Yeah, we hopefully kick off in the next couple of weeks on that. That's it.
Right, we'll adjourn for lunch and reconvene in 20 minutes, please.
Mr. Mayor?